World War Hulk. Someone makes the Hulk angry, so he tries to wipe out Earth. The Hulk and anger go together like chocolate and peanut butter, giving Marvel readers some of the most entertaining and exciting stories in comics. Whenever the Jade Giant is annoyed, it connects with the readers on a primal level, reminding them of the myriad of annoyances and obstacles that constantly rob them of their happiness in their daily lives. Obviously though, Hulk's ups and downs are far more extreme. Much like his classic rival Wolverine, Hulk confronts pressing issues of emotion and rage that too often go ignored or mistreated. After the Hulk's adopted home planet Sakaar is wiped out, courtesy of the SHIELD shuttle that initially brought him, he sails across the void of space to claim his vengeance on the Illuminati, the small handful of heroes that exiled him from planet Earth. World War Hulk is fun but carries with it an undercurrent of tension that implores readers to look within and settle within the mania that often accompanies feelings of injustice. When does justice give way to revenge? And can the Hulk distinguish between the two as he conquers his former planet? Chapter 1, Casus Belli, World War Hulk Prologue. Worldbreaker number 1. The Worldbreaker is coming, and he's pissed. So much so that he rages across the hull of his ship, ripping apart invaders that have set foot upon it. These actions aren't uncommon for the Hulk, but his motivations this time around are troubling. Despite the invaders adequately appearing intimidating, the maelstrom of Hulk's anger is triggered by the targets beyond these nuisances. The Illuminati, a small gang of so-called heroes that send him away from Earth in order to protect the puny planet. It's a morally gray action that Marvel heroes do that I just can't side with them on. Imagine the heroes weighing every available contingency and settling on exiling one of their own to the darkness of space. I need to see what those other options were. The Illuminati membership consists of Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Mr. Fantastic, some of the most intellectually gifted people on the planet. Ironically, their collective brainpower is bringing about humanity's doom by inciting their former friends' ever-deepening well of fury. What he sees are his true enemies, collectively the most formidable minds on Earth. Individually, each and every one of them are doomed insofar as the Hulk is concerned. But the Illuminati's transgressions even extend to after Hulk landed on Sakaar, rose in the gladiatorial ranks, became king, and fathered a child with his princess, Kyra Oldstrong. During the Hulk's reign, while attempting to establish relations with another tribe, the SHIELD shuttle that first brought him to Sakaar explodes thanks to its compromised warp core. The concussion wipes out the entirety of Crown City as well as spreads nuclear fire and radiation across the planet. Sakaar seems to freeze as every person and settlement for miles observes the massive explosion. Hulk loses Kyra as she is annihilated in his arms, reduced to ash instantaneously, and he sets out with the rest of his remaining allies, the Warbound, to let loose his ruthless rancor upon those he holds responsible. Following his mistaken attack on Korgan Brood, Hulk retires to the interior of the vessel to, of all things, meditate with Hiram, a priestly warrior and member of the Warbound. It is here that readers are treated to a dissection of the Hulk's bitterness in relation to the Illuminati's members, recounting specific episodes that involved him battling them for one reason or another. He believes Black Bolt to be a hypocrite, Doctor Strange a traitor, Iron Man a fraud, and Mr. Fantastic a government crony. Meanwhile, Jennifer Walters is no longer She-Hulk due to nanites preventing her from transforming. She comes home to her hotel room to find Doc Samson waiting for her. Samson is a pivotal figure at SHIELD, the organization that implanted the superpower inhibiting nanobots, or spin-tech, in Jen to begin with. Consequently, Samson is the target of Walter's ire here, but the two do have a nuanced argument revolving around the Illuminati's actions regarding the Hulk. Was sending away her cousin a good thing? If he was a threat to live here, he was a threat everywhere. It was convenience, pure and simple. Instead of helping Bruce like a friend would have done, they just decided to make him somebody else's problem. Everyone needs a cousin like She-Hulk. She's got Bruce's back, but she knows her cousin, what he carries inside of him. This is confirmed by a premonition she receives of Hulk. Destructive, unstoppable, unapologetically angry, hurtling like a nuclear shuttle towards Earth. The Illuminati sent him away in peace, only to see him return bathed in bloodshed. And the fighting has only just begun. But before we witness the War of Hulk, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. This is a brand new channel and we appreciate all the support we can get. Chapter 2, I call them monsters. World War Hulk number 1. World War Hulk starts with a smash. Two actually. As his ship approaches the moon, Hulk clears the way by practically swatting away an asteroid with his fist. He disembarks upon the blue area of the moon, home of the Inhumans, where he is met by Black Bolt and Medusa. This meeting is as rocky as the lunar surface, with the Jade Giant's unbridled rage simply too much for the normally robust Black Bolt. Now, don't get it twisted. The Inhuman leader certainly gets a hefty hit on the Hulk, sending him hurling backwards across the cratered ground. Black Bolt is satisfied and turns to leave, however his victim still lives. Nay, he leaps onto Bolt with a line as equally hilarious as it is legendary.
I didn't come here for a whisper. I want to hear you scream.
I didn't even know the Hulk could make a witty and threatening one-liner. Even among the best, that one is the stuff of nightmares. But readers don't hear anyone scream. In fact, they hear absolutely nothing, as if a signal had been lost. We return to Earth as the government and superhero community learn of the ship that reached the moon. Readers accompany another of the main Illuminati members, Iron Man, as he begins strategizing Earth's defense. However, time seems to pause when Hulk, broadcasting from his ship, reveals the truth about his absence. The heroes that sent him away are put on blast, and Hulk's objective is made clear: to expose them for who they are. His method of doing so is admittedly brilliant. He uses Mr. Fantastic's own words to illustrate their hypocrisy. I have always thought of us as friends, Bruce, so I am truly genuinely sorry. But for your sake and ours, we're sending you away. It's the only way we can be sure. Those are the words that Hulk heard as he watched Earth fade away into the blackness of space, unaware of the perilous pilgrimage he had been forced upon. Now those same words herald his return for revenge. He continues on the sins of the Illuminati.
Manhattan will fall. You have 24 hours to evacuate. When I return, I want to see Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange. And if they're not here...
His final pronouncement involves a prop of sorts. The battered, beaten, bloodied Black Bolt brandished for all the Earth's inhabitants to behold.
I'll do this to your whole stinking planet.
Iron Man begins the hero's response by traveling with Mr. Fantastic to the home of Robert Reynolds, otherwise known as the Sentry. Given the hero's past with Hulk, Iron Man hopes that Sentry may be able to talk the raging giant down. While he hesitantly agrees to help, it's ultimately Iron Man who meets Hulk above the evacuated streets of Manhattan. And by meet, I mean the two collide with the force the magnitude of which bursts and shatters blocks and blocks of nearby windows, not to mention the buildings that give way to the brawl. Despite the destruction, readers are reminded of the root of Hulk's pain during, of all things, an airstrike on the guy. The missiles hit, the fire engulfs him, and assumedly his skin bakes from the heat. At that moment, he is psychologically torn between two different places, being with his fallen family and friends in the great beyond, and reliving the moment of Kyra's death. The message is clear. Hulk's charge to avenge his Sicarian home burdens him more than being at peace himself.
War it is then.
His official declaration comes with collapsing Avengers Tower, effectively using Iron Man as his mallet, because Iron Man may make Hulk angry, but symbolism never does. Chapter 3. Something dramatic happened. World War Hulk, X-Men, numbers 1 through 3. World War Hulk, Frontline, number 1. The Xavier Institute for Higher Learning is in session, and to graduate, students must defeat the Hulk. Professor Charles Xavier returns to find the Illuminati in crisis. In the midst of his disappearance following the decimation of mutants, the Illuminati went forward with exiling Hulk from Earth. A short time before the Jade Giant returns to claim his vengeance, Xavier is brought up to speed by Iron Man in regards to Illuminati activities. He briefly recounts the banishment of Hulk before posing a question to the professor. I'm curious, Charles, if you had been here, how would you have voted? The reader can only wonder as the scene cuts to Cerebra, where Xavier ponders the fate of mutant kind. Did Scarlet Witch change human DNA entirely? Are there now, or will there ever be any more mutants? Meanwhile, Beast trains the next generation of X-Men by having them duel each other. The group include Dest, Elixir, Helion, Mercury, Prodigy, Rockslide, Surge, and X-23. While the classic group is away on a mission, their training is interrupted by the Hulk on TV, and then things become much more real. The entire state trembles as the Hulk lands on front of the lawn of the Institute. He has one command.
Xavier, I want Xavier.
His students give an admirable effort, but can only delay the Hulk's push to their leader. The most valiant effort comes from Rockslide, perhaps the only X-Men there who can match the Hulk's strength, theoretically. Once the Hulk rips off his limbs, then literally chucks them to another state so that he can't reassemble himself, Rockslide is pretty much made useless. The fight concluded just as it was about to get interesting. The classic X-Men, including Hulk's old rival Wolverine, arrive to back up their younger counterparts. But Xavier reaches into the calamitous cave that is Hulk's memory of Sakaar, experiencing the catastrophe and loss that his old friend did. With things at a standstill, Hulk now has a question for Xavier.
If you had been there when they were debating whether to ruin my life, how would you have voted?
This time, readers are given an answer. As the professor explains himself, I wouldn't have agreed to exile you forever, but I would have voted to send you away while we search for a cure. I have been guilty of playing God, and there's nothing I can do to make up for it. With that, Xavier volunteers to surrender himself, but seemingly underestimates the loyalty of his students, both past and present. Both the classic and new X-Men, as well as X-Factor and Excalibur, attack on the professor's behalf. Both Hulk and Wolverine fans will be satisfied with their brief rematch here, but as Hulk plainly puts it,
"This ain't another of our throwdowns, Wolverine. Things are different."
To demonstrate how different, Hulk puts down his old rival quickly by delivering severe blow after blow to Logan's head, repeatedly knocking his brain against his adamantium-laced skull. This effectively KOs him on the spot. Elsewhere, the Daily Bugle has lost Ben Urich, the experienced and savvy reporter. Urich puts together his own startup paper, Frontline, and brings on Sally Floyd as a partner. They struggle with the financial and political woes that a young news company would experience, but receive funding from an anonymous source that gets them an office and resources to boot. As if their luck wasn't good enough already, Urich and Floyd witness firsthand the Hulk's initial message regarding the Illuminati upon his return to Earth. Some of their staff at Frontline voluntarily stay behind to cover the events that are about to unfold, including Urich and Floyd. One evening, Urich finds himself participating in history as Korg and the rest of the Warbound descend from Hulk's ship. The occupiers seek peaceful coexistence with their subjects, despite Arch E-5912's insistence that the people of Earth are an inferior force. Perhaps someone took this personally, as only a few hours later, Arch E-5912 winds up destroyed while investigating the planet's superheroes. Korg demands assistance from the local police force in finding the perpetrator. In particular, the Warbound requests Danny Gravel's assistance, giving his experience with superheroes. And again, Korg makes it clear that the Warbound do not ask.
This is not a request, Detective Danny Granville. You are to endure judicial servitude in this matter. Do you understand?
Elsewhere, we pick back up with Floyd, accompanied by her photographer who is investigating Manhattan following the evacuation. She bears witness to the immaculate dispute between Hulk and Iron Man and finds herself sick. I think we're at war again, only this time I don't think we're going to win. Well, we've all seen what you're facing, Floyd, and you're definitely not going to win. Chapter 4. Stop talking and start fighting. World War Hulk number 2. Whatever version of Hulkbuster armor that was, it needs an upgrade. If Iron Man and Hulk's one-on-one is any indication, the heroes of Earth will most assuredly not win. But several blocks away from the now collapsed Avengers Tower, another member of the Illuminati is toiling away trying to figure a way out of this, Doctor Strange. To be fair, the Sorcerer Supreme fully understands his and the others' culpability in the matter. Black Bolt, Iron Man, Reed Richards and I shot the Hulk into space. Whatever happened to him started with us. As the Hulk and Iron Man crawl out of the wreckage of the tower, Strange speaks of reaching out to a hero of some kind but fails to elaborate before things escalate. Hulk is simultaneously backed up and confronted as he collects himself post-smash. His Warbound arrives minus Arc E-5912 at the same time that his cousin Jennifer Walters and the rest of the Avengers do. Walters' ability to Hulk out has been restored, effectively giving Earth its She-Hulk back. Regardless of her newfound power, She-Hulk remains loyal to Bruce and tries to talk him down, but Hulk really isn't Puny Banner. Consequently, he musters only a stern warning.
Walk away, now.
But She-Hulk is a hero. She refuses to step aside and let the carnage continue. Fisticuffs ensue, and while she fights valiantly, Hulk's hatred is just too powerful. He literally hammers her into the ground like a nail while Korg, Brood, and the rest of the Warbound engage the other Avengers. Across town from Strange's machinations, Mr. Fantastic is hatching a plan himself, capitalizing on the fondness Hulk has for his friend, the Sentry. Reed plans to imitate the latter's appearance using sophisticated technology. This could disable the Hulk without much resistance, but he's the Hulk, of course. There'll be resistance. Further, he arrives on site a tad early, which leads to the Thing having to buy Reed some time. It's a treat for readers though, as the two behemoths pull no punches in their climactic contest. By the time the Human Torch and Storm combine their powers to create a mega nuclear level explosion directly on the Jade Giant, it seems like things are under control. But again, he's the Hulk and can't be controlled. The heroes evidently need a demonstration, which is provided when Hulk casually walks away from the pit left over from Storm and Torch's attack. Hulk again rejects any notion of control when Reed deploys the Sentry Phantom. He rips it to shreds. In between shreds, he's continuing to stretch out Mr. Fantastic until the hero is incapacitated. The Hulk's vulnerability betrays itself when Rick Jones, his friend and frequent sidekick, approaches him. This genuine connection, unbeknownst to both Hulk and Jones, is exactly the opening Strange needs for his incantation to take hold. He mentally strikes, but as established earlier, the Hulk is simply incapable of being influenced, especially by those of the Illuminati. For this enchantment to work, he must open the door. But he's so angry, and everything he sees just makes him angrier. Speaking of which, cue General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross arriving on the scene, probably to peacefully talk the Hulk down, right? Right? Chapter 5. How about World War Hulk? World War Hulk, Frontline number 2. Coming up with catchy titles is only part of the reporter gig. The rest is chasing stories. Call it method or madness, hunting leads during a planetary occupation may seem far-fetched. But if my neighborhood or family suffered horribly during a tragedy only for richer places and the more well-off surnames to receive more attention in the inevitable period of reconstruction, I'd want it exposed too. Enter Ben Urich to the rescue. The pressing issue of economic inequality permeates the streets that Urich and Sally Floyd are touring on their quest to tell Manhattan's story. How did the city behave once it was deserted? There's danger, yes, but from whom? Raiders, scavengers, not to mention the occupiers themselves. Finally, collateral damage fits into this puzzle as well. Given the capabilities of the superhuman community, how responsible are they in the public's eye, particularly those of less fortunate neighborhoods we mentioned earlier? A perfect illustration is presented when Luke Cage comes careening through a building, landing on a gas main. Though this immediately begins spewing foul chemicals into the air, Cage doesn't even notice and returns to the battle he was previously ejected from. Besides the gas leak, a little girl nearly loses her life no thanks to the structural damage caused by Cage's tumble. Thankfully, the people at street level can always depend on Daredevil to keep their interests at heart. Or can they? After saving the aforementioned little girl and facing her resentful brother, Matt Murdock sounds awfully close to the BS that politicians may have fed them for years. I'm gonna make you a promise. I'm gonna make it a point of coming around here more often. I won't let anything happen to you or your home, okay? But look at what's happened to his home already. Matt's words ring hollow for any citizen of Hell's Kitchen that has already gone through the events of the prior couple of days, not to mention the shrinking returns the community was already getting from the elected office before Hulk's return. Unfortunately, the street-level heroes quickly give way to the massive concussion-inducing power grid failing bout taking place atop the Baxter building. Hulk's nuclear-level battle with the Fantastic Four being witnessed on the ground by Urich. While on the phone with Floyd, a sudden surge wipes out the power across the entire building. Urich describes the event in vivid language. We felt the earth move, a pulse of dangerous energy. The infrastructure screamed with defiance as it tore in half, and all across the city was darkness. Elsewhere, Korg and Danny Granville continue investigating the death of Arch E-5912 by first visiting the site of the incident. Observing the android's destroyed corpse, Korg explains what the late Warbound's mission was.
He intended to examine human interactions through our presence here. If possible, he was to observe the movements and activities of your so-called superheroes.
They are determined that he was knocked out by some kind of energy pulse, but are unable to deduce any more. It could be related to the energy pulse that wiped out power across the city, but like Korg and Danny, we'll have to wait and see what is uncovered next. So we've exhausted the Avengers, X-Men, Inhumans, and I got the Fantastic Four scheduled for a meeting with the Hulk soon. Do any other superhero teams need to be smashed? No matter what teams that have faced the Hulk and his warbound thus far, all have failed. The president's answer to this is simple. Who hated Hulk before he was a gladiator, conqueror, then king? Who will fight the Hulk tooth and nail with every last resource his history buys him? That distinction lies in the hands of General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, the father of Banner's late romantic interest Betty Ross, and contender for Hulk's arch-nemesis. The general is fully aware of the mess the world is currently in and who's responsible. The Hulk's come back from a vacation in space with an army of aliens, threatening to kill the planet's biggest superheroes. The same costume clowns who built the memorial statue for him. Coming in with a hot 10-ton adamantium tribute, Ross lets fly his artillery and lets it hit its mark, but perhaps not in the way Thunderbolt intended. While it does not hinder the Hulk physically, it swings wide the door to his psyche. This allows Doctor Strange to successfully execute the enchantment from earlier and gains a foothold in the Hulk's mind. This forces the Jade Giant to combat on two fronts. His physically body remained endangered by Ross' constant gunfire and his mental state at the behest of a man who has planned to kill. In a stunning move, Strange manages to force Hulk's transformation back to Banner. From the Hulk's point of view, though, the entire episode is considerably insulting given what the Illuminati have done. But Stephen's final words to Banner upon finishing a self-righteous spiel about how the heroes weren't to blame seal his fate. I have always been your friend, Bruce, and always will be. Either he has cast a spell of ignorance over himself, or is it that he's just that narcissistic? No matter the explanation, the Sorcerer Supreme is greeted with an enormous crack when helping his friend to his feet. Turns out Hulk can gaslight just as well as the Illuminati. He snaps Strange's hands to prevent any further spellcasting and frees himself from the mental arena that the Sorcerer had imprisoned him. The real-life rampage continues afterward, with Hulk bringing down Ross's chopper and triggering an even bigger response from the government and heroes. With the Sentry still inactive, Strange sees no alternative but to allow himself to be possessed by an otherworldly entity that can match the Hulk's prowess in destruction, Zom. The Hulk sits atop his throne apparently victorious and soon finds himself accosted by the Zom-possessed Strange. The Sorcerer's final words indicate an explosive yet internal battle to come.
Strange smash!
Chapter 7. No one signed up for this. World War Hulk, Frontline, numbers 3-4. The time for escalation is now. Just as Dr. Strange ramps up his efforts to stem the Hulk's tide of rage, military forces in the city begin to prepare for an offensive. The citizens on the street, however, face disaster every hour of the day spent wandering Manhattan. Via phone call between Urich and Floyd, readers are again reminded of the hardships faced by those attempting to live normal day-to-day lives amidst the relentless chaos that is inherent in a superhuman world. With the Hulk ship still perched in the skyline above, Floyd asks Urich what things look like from his end. Like a movie. The two reporters even begin to experience feelings of regret, particularly in regards to staying behind on the island. Of course, these anxieties present themselves while Floyd and Urich are literally on the front lines, but they remain raw and honest nonetheless. No one signed up for this, Ben. The army guy should just let him have the city if that's what he wants. They're outclassed. Before things get bloody, Floyd and Urich divert into an alleyway and come upon a helicopter crash site. A woman is heartbroken as the vehicle has leveled her home, further illuminating the costs of violence. Later, when Urich joins a group of humans entering Madison Square Garden, he discovers that the Hulk has converted the stadium into a gladiatorial arena. He laments the loss of humanity that Hulk's invasion has heralded, particularly the barbarism of the fights being perpetrated in the stadium. The Illuminati are even forced to compete for the Jade Giant's amusement, which begs the question, has Hulk then accomplished his mission? Has he achieved his vengeance? Questions of the Hulk's humanity are drowned out by Urich's ponderings of his own. The aliens had brought the rule of might, not right. They reveled in their utter disregard for the sanctity of life. They accepted death as the norm. They delighted in carnage. They had brought with them a lust for blood, a remorseless brutality. And I realized something. We hadn't been overrun. You can't be overrun when your invaders are exactly like you. Meanwhile, Granville and Korg's investigation into Arch E5912 hits a snag when the former deduces the culprit. When the Sicarians first arrived on Earth, Korg gave specific instructions for Arch E's directive.
Speak, but do not touch, neither endanger nor protect.
Kill only in defense. Do not defend one from the other.
Clear enough parameters, I think. Korg's directive oozes logistical loopholes and possesses significant wiggle room in its application. As a result, Arch-E was simply overwhelmed by the contradictions that resulted from Korg's instructions and simply blew itself up. No culprit, no murder weapon, no case at all really, except for one to be made of Korg's incomprehensible directives. Chapter 8, The Little People, World War Hulk number 4. During quests of vengeance, is there ever really a good guy? Even the purest of intent can fall to corruption if bitterness is nurtured, and nurtured it he does as Hulk schools Strange in the lessons of control. Strange has invited Zom to possess him so as to garner enough physical power to contend with Hulk, and for a good chunk of the brawl, it seems to be working. The temporary marriage that grants Strange physical advantage is powerful enough to at least keep up with Hulk. However, the chaotic nature with which the sorcerer wields this power proves nearly fatal for nearby civilians cowering beneath enormous collection of debris. The surrounding ruins cave in, but as they do, Hulk spots the vulnerable people not far from him. Strange seemingly realize this recklessness.
No, the people, the little people. I'm sorry. This much anger, power, hard to control.
For once, it seems another member of the Illuminati comprehends Hulk's predicament, a power beyond human comprehension in the hands of a being exceedingly human. But in a turning of the tables, as poetic as it is tragic, Hulk becomes the protector of the little people by shielding them from collapsing buildings, courtesy of Zom's destructive influences on Strange. Declaring it a lesson of self-control, Hulk subdues Strange by fitting him with an obedience disc and dragging him to the former Madison Square Gardens, the site of the aforementioned arena combat Urich had witnessed. He resides over the Illuminati's members, all of whom he's now captured, as they combat not only fierce gladiatorial creatures but face the voice of the people, those crushed by the godlike heroes wielding immense power on the regular. A poignant testimony comes from the nephew of Goliath, a hero killed during the superhuman Civil War due to the actions of Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic. Tony Stark and Reed Richards cloned Thor, cloned a god, and used him to kill my uncle. They talk about law, but their laws only seem to apply to people like you and me. I'm ready for the Hulk's law. Are you, bro? Are you? Even Korg begins to contend with his leader to halt the fighting, but the future has already been set in motion. The Sentry, now properly guilted into intervening, finally prepares to face his old buddy. How touching and extremely sad that Earth had to burn before we all realized that Hulk didn't need an opposing force, but an open and honest friend. It has all led to this. The Sentry speeds towards Manhattan as Reed Richards contemplates killing his friend, Iron Man, waging a taxing war against the obedient disc that implores him to do so. Hope begins to dwindle, but is quickly reignited when Hulk's ship, a perpetual presence aboard the ruined skyline of Manhattan, is thoroughly destroyed by the newly arrived Sentry. Following the ship's destruction, Reynolds turns his attention to Hulk as he punches his old friend into a neighboring building. Since both heroes are unbelievably powerful and enduring, they consequently let loose the full spectrum of their might. They fight to a standstill, practically beating the power right out of each other. All that remains are the reverted Bruce Banner and Robert Reynolds together. The sight of the former prompts one of the war-bound Meek to seriously injure Rick Jones. Inciting his leader's rage, Meek falls to the Hulk, but not before uttering the prophetic phrase,
"This is what you are made for. Don't let them stop you, Hulk. Never stop making them pay."
The World Breaker must break worlds. The Hulk must Hulk out. In essence, we are who we are and cannot elude the specter of that truth through anger, loss, or pain. The people of Earth, the Illuminati, the Warbound, all are fair targets when subjected to the righteous fury of the Jade Giant. The fight ends after Iron Man directs the energies of Earth satellites onto Hulk, leaving the warrior reverted to Banner. His fury and heartbreak exhausted, Banner is taken into SHIELD custody, as is the rest of Warbound. Fittingly, he is contained in a facility located in New Mexico, the site of exposure to the gamma radiation that led him to becoming the Jade Giant. Readers are encouraged to wonder whether Banner is truly home again, given the near constant state of turmoil his life has seen. This is the story of the Hulk, and how he finally came home. They can call you whatever they want, he said. Savior, destroyer. All that matters is what you choose. Bear witness to his choice, children, and give thanks to your gods. Elsewhere, life persists on Sakaar. A green Hulk-like figure emerges from the lava pits of the planet. Finally, the narration implores the reader, and pray for their mercy, for tonight the Hulk may sleep, but his rage will never die. Well, it looks like we may be getting a sequel. World War Hulk is an enjoyable story, but one that doesn't lack topical conclusions amidst its torrential explosions. Following Sakaar's destruction, it's only natural that Hulk would seek out revenge against the Illuminati, especially given his entire predicament is at least partially their doing. Well, everyone, that about wraps it up for this video. We want to thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. My name is Morse Code, and we'll see you in the next one.